Something really bad happens to your brain when you watch short form content. And I'm not just talking about the fact that if you watch videos that are 5 to 10 seconds long, you'll only be able to focus for like 5 seconds. And I'm not only talking about the fact that you're gonna be comparing your daily life to the highlights of somebody else's life. What I'm talking about, it's actually a lot deeper than that. What I'm going to say in this video is gonna scare you so much that it will scare you to never watch a piece of short form ever again. And that's exactly what happened to me. When I learned this, it scared the shit out of me, which in turn made me stop watching short form entirely. Number one, and this is probably the most self-explanatory one, it rewires your dopamine system entirely. And so when you get used to doing hard things, it's like David Goggins talks about all the time, and Huberman, just do hard shit. And so when they talk about that, it's really good for your dopamine because it chases long-term satisfaction, not immediate gain. And so what I mean by that is the best thing for you goals-wise, fitness, relationships, financial, everything is basically what I see and what holds to be true for most humans is the things that are best for you suck in the moment. And the things that are worse for you are amazing in the moment. And so if you just chase the things that suck in the moment, then long term you will see the gratification. But the problem is you scrolling short form trains your brain every 5 seconds to get new dopamine and to get something new. And it's cheap. So back in the day, thousands and thousands of years ago, humans couldn't get dopamine in 5 seconds. It was impossible. But nowadays we have social media. You motherfuckers can scroll like 24/7. There's food, there's porn, everything like that. So people can literally get these dopamine hits instantaneously, and it cooks your brain. And so if you notice, you can't even do something for 5 to 10 seconds long. If you can't focus on one task for 30 minutes, if you can't sit there for 90 days straight and focus on one thing, lock in on one thing until that task is completed and move on to the next, a main reason, it might not be your fault. It might be just because you're watching so much social media. You know, when I was watching social media all the time and scrolling and literally just brain rotting like this, I realized I was fucking cooked when I started to 2x the speed on my 10-second video on my phone. That I couldn't even make it through a 10-second video, that I needed it to be 5 seconds. So back thousands of years ago, you know, men used to like working out, used to like eating clean food, used to like doing hard shit. But now it's men don't like doing those types of things because they get rewarded for the easiest stuff. The second thing is that scrolling never actually satisfies you. Never in my life have I been scrolling and just been like, oh, I'm good now. Like, I don't need to do this shit anymore. I've gotten enough of my scroll. Well, after you're drinking, you're like, okay, I'm not thirsty anymore. You know, like that is my dopamine because I was thirsty and then I drank water and I am no longer thirsty. And the same thing with food. I am hungry. I need food to replenish my energy. I am no longer hungry. But it's like, motherfucker, I could sit there and scroll for hours, you know? And so the urge to scroll never completes. And so it's like you're a hamster on one of those wheels and you're just running and running and running to finish something, but there's no end goal. Another thing is that when you try and quit social media, if you guys have tried, it feels like you're withdrawing on drugs. It feels like, you know, you're fucking trying to put some cigarettes down. It feels like you're trying to, it's because it is. You know, it's like the people who run these social media platforms, their goal is to keep you on the platform for as long as possible. And they're billionaires, they're stupid fucking rich, and they have the best scientists in the world to do it. And so you are addicted. And that's okay. You know, most people are addicted. A lot of the world is addicted. But if you put your phone down and you can't sit there and lock in for 30 minutes in a row, like that's probably the issue. The second problem is it destroys your ability to think original thoughts. Back when I was in high school, I used to just sit there, no music, no music, no Instagram Reels, no TikTok Shorts, nothing like that. And I literally just used to sit there and think. And that's when my best thoughts would come. And I think that's why a lot of people are like, my best thoughts come in the shower, is because it's completely silent. They have nothing in their mind to distract them. But again, since people's attention spans have gotten so small, like you guys, the amount of people that have already clicked off this fucking 7-minute, 9-minute video is absurd. You know, but since everyone's attention span is so small, like there is no time for silence. Because if it's 2 minutes of silence, you're like, fuck, I need to turn some music on. 5 minutes of silence is like, fuck, I'm gonna fill this with scrolling. You can't even sit in like a lobby while just waiting. And I think that's where a lot of good ideas come from as humans and as individuals. And that's where thought is born. You know, that's where people come up with their own unique ideas. And if you don't ever have your own unique ideas, you will forever and always be capped by the people who you're copying. Next, you start having opinions that you never actually formed. And you start identifying with things that you never actually thought of yourself. And whatever your page ends up being just becomes you. And I realize like a lot of like your phone and your For You page, as funny as it sounds, has way more power over me and over you than you would like to admit. If your page is super locked in, motivational stuff, etc., and that's what you're consuming, like it's probably going to be better for you. And then the guy's page who's all about fucking clavicular, hype mogged, weight hype boostered, this bitch at the club, it's like, who do you think's gonna be more successful? Who do you think's gonna have better relationships? Who do you think's gonna be more financially like well off in the future? You know, so I think what you consume is who you become, and so you have to be very, very careful with the media and the things that are on your page. The last one was the scariest one for me, and that it's basically it tricks your brain into having experiences that you haven't had. You see this guy, he's traveling, he's living the life of his dreams, and you somehow think that's you, you know, and you want to live vicariously through these other people. Like back in the day, obviously I'm 22 years old, I'm acting like I'm fucking Unc, you know, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But obviously, like, if you wanted to go see the fucking ocean, you wanted to see the Great Wall of China, you wanted to see the pyramids of Giza or whatever, you had to go. You had to hop on a fucking plane or however the fuck you would get there, depending what it was, and you had to sit there for 13 hours and your dopamine, and you would get that dopamine hit when you were there. Now on my TikTok, I can look up Great Wall of China and I can see edits, the hardest shit ever, instantly. And so I think the biggest problem is it just cooks your dopamine receptors. What we were talking about, it's like, how are you supposed to be happy comparing your life to everybody else's highlights? Of course, everyone's going to try and seem to be the hardest person alive on their social media. Second, how are you supposed to focus? How are you supposed to achieve anything long-term if all day, for 8 hours a day, you're literally sitting here and training your brain to only focus for 5 seconds long before it can need new information? And so when you're at work and you're trying to lock in on work or fitness or whatever, it doesn't surprise me that you can't sit there for 30 minutes when there's no new information. And if you can't sit there for 30 minutes, you know what that means. Like you're never going to see success. So I think it's an issue, and I think everyone knows it's an issue, but it's like, how do we actually fix it? I think the ways, I think like the biggest thing for me is like, you just have to be conscious, you know, of, okay, this is an issue. And even like a few months ago, like I didn't realize it was a problem until I realized, wow, I can't even work. Why can't I work? And so I got 2 phones. One of my phones is in my room when I'm working. It's completely somewhere else. And other than that, like the biggest thing for me is just how I act throughout my morning is how I act throughout my day. And so if I win the morning, I'm not on my phone, etc. Like, and I like literally would fight the urge to get on my phone. Like I'd find the day to be very, very simple and quite frankly easy. If I didn't, and I woke up, I snoozed my alarm, and I'm like this, I realized the day wouldn't go as well. But yeah, that's a very, very big reason that allowed me to make $100,000 in profit in the month of April, my 11th month in the business. So if you want me to help you do the same thing for free, you want to join my sales organization, we open up 4 to 5 slots every month. So DM me on Instagram and we'll see if you're a good fit. If not, I appreciate you watching the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.